Today I'm going to be reviewing the 1984 film The Neverending Story. This film was disappointing, I'll be honest. I have decided that as I don't watch enough films, and I can't afford to go to the cinema like every week or a couple of times a week, I just can't afford that, I would instead go through and watch every film that I own, because I haven't watched probably most of them. I reckon I've watched like a third of these films. So I'm just starting at the beginning of my film collection and working through all of them. This could take a while as I have around 250 films, but it'll make for good reviews, hopefully. The Neverending Story was the first one in this collection, and I must admit I've tried to watch it once before. I watched about half an hour, but I was really busy and just wasn't, I was trying to work at the same time and it wasn't really drawing me in, so I just got on with the other stuff I was doing and gave up on the film. This time I did manage to watch the whole thing, but to be quite honest, it was a waste of an hour and a half. This story is based on the Neverending Story book by somebody, which I haven't read before and don't really intend to read, but apparently, according to IMDb, the author was so disappointed with the film that he didn't want to have anything to do with it. He didn't want his name in the credits, and he didn't want the film to be called The Neverending Story because he didn't want it associated with his book. And the film ends about halfway through the book, so I can tell that they're obviously very, very different, but it's not good, man. Like, for an hour and a half film, it felt never-ending. The title was fairly accurate. The main plot is a boy called Bastiel, I want to say, runs away from his school bullies and ends up in an old bookshop where he ends up talking to the guy who runs it, who has this old book in his hand which is different to every other book. So the kid ends up taking the book and reading it and becomes sort of part of the story to an extent. And then the rest of the film is just basically what happens in this book. Character-wise, we've got Bastiel, I think is his name, as I said. He's alright. He's not, doesn't really do a lot. He does some crying, and some shockedness and some shouting. Bastian is his name. Then we have Atreyu, played by Noah Hathaway, who is another kid, but he's really quite good. I mean, he has his moments where his shouting is really annoying and I just kind of want to punch him in the face, but for the most part his acting is pretty good. He doesn't have a lot to do, but I felt like the scene with the Swamp of Sorrow was really great. Like, that was a highlight for me. That was a particularly good scene and I did feel emotional about it. At the end we have the childlike Empress, who I just want to punch. Like, she really annoyed me. Maybe it's because all of the other characters in this were really annoying, but by the end I was just like, shut up, just let it end, oh my god. A lot of the characters as well seemed a little bit pointless. Like, they turned up randomly and then were never seen again, and it just, you don't really attach to any of the characters because you're only following Atreyu and none of the others are relevant. Apart from Falkor, the luck dragon, and my god have I got to get me a luck dragon. He's great. He's pink and a little bit sparkly and I appreciated that. Although also really cryptic and annoying. That's something that brings me on to the sort of special effects. Now obviously this film was made in 1984, so they're primitive compared to what we have now, but the creatures are awful. They're absolutely horrifying and just ugly, and they're not nice. They're not nice, so that doesn't help because I'm sure they could have been made a little bit nicer looking, but never mind. Generally the score was quite adventure-styly. The Neverending Story song at the beginning was a bit like, la-di-da, this is the never-ending story. It was a bit over the top, and then the score for the rest of it was just fun, I guess. It was adventure-y, and it did feel like we were going on a quest, which we were, so it was relevant, but it wasn't very memorable, to be quite honest. The shot types and sort of cinematography generally were okay. They were pretty standard and what you'd expect. There was nothing special or exciting there. And the set, it's difficult because it's an adventurous Fantasia world story and it's in the 80s, and you obviously have to take a film with appreciating what was available at the time of making it, but it wasn't great. Like, there are definitely things that are better made even before that, so whatever. Generally kind of substandard film, and I wouldn't really recommend that you watch it if you haven't seen it up until now. Probably keep going that way. And that's everything. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye. I hope to be less next time, but I'm tired and hungry and it wasn't a great film.